Hello viewers, I welcome you in my YouTube channel lecture series on labor law first. This is the second lecture on concept of collective bargaining. This is very important concept in labor laws. As you know, in industry, the interest of employer and employee is always conflicting interest. Therefore, the dispute between employer and workers is inevitable. There are most chances that dispute may arise due to many reasons, and when the dispute arises between the parties, it disturbs the industry, it disturbs industrial peace, then it hampers production also, and it worstly affects economy. Therefore, the settlement of industrial dispute is necessary. We cannot allow the dispute to go beyond the circumstances where it cannot be solved. As you know, there are many methods of settlement of industrial dispute. As there is adjudication, there is arbitration, etc. But to tell you, the collective bargaining is the best method to solve the dispute. It results in mutual satisfaction because in collective bargaining, the decision is made by parties mutually and it is made by mutual decision, and the government is always promoting the collective bargaining as a way or method to solve the dispute, because it is the settlement of dispute by parties themselves. Now we must understand what is the concept of collective bargaining. See, it is nothing but a sort of collective negotiations, an agreement between employer and employees to solve their issues, to solve their disputes, etc. See, we must see some definitions of collective bargaining. The first definition is given by K. Alexander, and according to K. Alexander, the collective bargaining is nothing but a process of collective bargaining between the employer and employee, by which they settle their dispute on employment or non-employment or working conditions of labor, etc. And it results in amicable dispute settlement. This is what the definition given by K. Alexander. Then we must see another definition that is given by ILO, International Labour Organization. See, according to International Labour Organization, collective bargaining is the negotiation between employer and employees for working conditions, terms of employment, or with view to reach an agreement, define terms and conditions of service, rights, liabilities of each parties. If you go through both definitions, you can find out that collective bargaining is nothing but a process of discussion, negotiation, by which employer and employee mutually decides the matter between them. See, there is another definition that is given by Convention number 154 of ILO, and according to this definition, all negotiations which take place between employer and employees for the determination of conditions, terms of employment, or all those matters which regulates the relation between employer and labor is called as collective bargaining. So in brief, we can say the collective bargaining as a process of discussion and negotiation between two parties, that is employer and employees, and it results in an understanding between them to settle the dispute, etc. So this is the definition of collective bargaining. So the collective bargaining is nothing but the process to solve the differences between parties by discussion and negotiation. This is what the brief meaning of all this definition. Now we must see what are the essentials of collective bargaining. See, if you go through the definition, we can find out certain essentials of collective bargaining. These are also work as features of collective bargaining, also basic characteristics also we can say them. See, the first essential of collective bargaining is it is a collective process. So as you know, in collective bargaining, the discussions, negotiations are entered between the parties, that is employer and employees, where the representatives of the employer as well as employees both participates mutually and collectively. Therefore it is called as a collective process, because earlier the decision making was made unilaterally. The second essential of collective bargaining is it is a flexible and dynamic process. You must understand these two words, flexible and the dynamic. See, as the collective bargaining process is not the rigid process, there is no strict rules of collective bargaining process, there is no statutory process provided by the act, but it is decided by parties themselves. So parties can adjust the process as it will serve the benefit of both parties. So there is possibility of mutual settlement between the parties, because the parties can meet at that place, parties can meet at that time which is affordable to them, or where they can easily discuss the matter, easily solve the problem. Then another essential of collective bargaining is it is bipartite process. As you know, bipartite means two parties, because in the absence of collective bargaining, the decisions were made unilaterally. The employer was the person who was enjoying prerogatives to decide the matters in industry, but now the matters are decided by both the parties. Therefore it is called as bipartite process. It is not the unilateral decision making, and as it gives both parties an opportunity to meet face to face and to discuss and to negotiate the matters which will result in satisfactory. So this is what the third essential. Then another essential of collective bargaining is it is a continuous process encouraging a relation. See, as you know, the another method of dispute settlement is adjudication, where the decision is made by court and it is binding on both parties. So that decision may not be satisfactory to both the parties. So there is very less chance that a relationship may be preserved, or there can be the further dispute also, the relations may be broken. But in collective bargaining, the decision is made by discussion, by negotiation. So the communication is continuous. There is establishment of continuous communication between parties, and this communication helps to establish good relation. It automatically encourages the continuous relation. So it encourages the relation, good relation between the parties. Then another essential of collective bargaining is it is democratic way to settle the dispute. See, as you know, what are the features of democracy? In democracy, the voice of everybody is considered. in decision making. And similarly in industry also, the employer is not going to take the decision as it thinks fit, but he considers what is the demand, what are the grievances by parties, and it is the democratic way to discuss the matter and to solve the dispute. Then another feature, another essential of collective bargaining is it is the form of self-government in industry which will promote common interest, because the industry is managed by the government. Government means what the decisions that are taken by both parties mutually and that are taken in the interest of industry, that is going to promote their common interest, and the common interest of employer and employees to continue the industry in a good manner, which will ensure the progress of industry as well as the parties to industrial relation. Then next essentially is it is the form of industrial democracy, as we have already discussed. So friends, this is what the concept of collective bargaining. You must understand what is the basic concept, and you must be capable to mention what are the essentials of collective bargaining. So friends, thank you. If you like my video, please share it. If you like my YouTube channel, please subscribe and share it. Thank you.